I'm a DJ boy, going to Dcentral, making NFT, I'm a DeFi, being crypto poor but JPay rich.
In our next panel, they're going to showcase just that, utilizing NFT technology with entertainment. With that being said, let me introduce to the stage, in partnership with Scrt Network, Kevin Smith and the rest of his panel. Please put your hands together.
Dcentral, can you hear me? All right. My name's Austin.
My name's Aaron.
We are part of the YouTube channel Content Creators Altcoin Daily, and one of these guests we actually had on our channel about a year ago. Let's introduce him.
Let's introduce the men of the hour. You might know this guy, independent filmmaker who went mainstream. You know him for such things as Clerks,
Mallrats,
one of my personal favorites, Chasing Amy,
one of my personal favorites, Tusk,
Jay and Silent Bob,
Dogma.
There's just so much. The man, the myth, the legend, the great Kevin Smith. Come on out and give it up for Kevin Smith, guys. We're lucky to have this guy.
Hey! Thank you.
The man, the legend, and of course, one of the leaders in the Web3 space. You've seen his swag. He presented yesterday. CEO of the Scrt Network, Guy Sensin. Oh my God, we just went over his last name. CEO, the man, the legend, Guy, please help me out here. Zyskind.
Yes, a legend in his own right. Both lucky to have these guys. We're going to be talking to him all about the Scrt Network, Kevin's NFT experience in the space, and specifically KillRoy, Kevin's feature film, which is premiering tonight, 7 o'clock. You must own the KillRoy NFT. And of course, there's a Scrt Network KillRoy party at 9 o'clock tonight. Stop into the Scrt Network booth and register for that party, and we'll see you there.
Let's have a seat, gentlemen. Now, we are going to get deep into Scrt, what makes it different. Obviously,
This is a COVID question, but this is not my water, right?
Good question.
Probably don't drink it. I was thirsty, but then I was like, it looks drank already.
You have the antibodies now, right?
That's true, man. I just got over COVID, kids. It took me a while to get it. I'm a slow learner, but I got it finally, and I just got over it. I survived it, so I feel fucking great. Thank you for being here. This is my first appearance since fucking COVID, and I'm testing negative, so I'm not like, virulent or anything like that. But it's nice to be out in the world. I've been indoors for fucking 3 weeks, like shitting through, fucking a screen door, it felt like. So it's nice to be here in the fucking world. I do want to say something before we get going, though. Just a note of, a more serious note. We'll talk about KillRoy, we'll talk about Scrt, we'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about, but just putting this out there. If anyone thinks about coming up on this stage and slapping any of us, I will cry. That's simple, man. I can't take a punch like Chris Rock, so please, keep your hands to yourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
That's why we have two
A
moderators.
hug? Fuck yeah, you can come up and hug all you like.
And I back up that sentiment. I want to get deep into the individual projects, but Kevin, right off the bat, as a filmmaker, why do NFTs speak to you?
It's a long story, but the short version of it is it's a playground. It's one more place to go make pretend. That's what I do for a living. I don't really, it's funny when you guys were intro and you talk about like filmmaker and stuff. I guess, yes, I've made films and naturally that's part of the resume, but I just kind of make shit up for a living. I just wanted to make things. Like from a young age, I loved entertainment. I was no good at real world things. If the economy and civilization collapses, I'll be one of the first people they fucking eat because I have no real world skills. But I like to make stuff up. And I like to make pretend, and it's what I did in childhood. It seemed like it was a good time. Then when we got older, there was this expectation that you would put that to the side, that you grow up and you do grown-up things. But most of the grown-up shit I ever saw in my life didn't seem that interesting to me. My father worked at the post office, and we were proud of him because he never went postal and fucking killed anybody, but like he did 25, 30 years and he hated it. Every day of his life when he went to work, he bitched about it, and he worked at night shift and stuff, and I would see him get up and just like dread going to work. And so after watching that for like, you know, my entire childhood, I had this idea of work, you know, of like, yeah, I understand it's necessary and whatnot. And we were a poor family, so of course somebody had to work. But I was like, if I have to do this one day, if I have to work for a living, and I'll be an adult one day, and I guess I'll have to, I would rather like shoot the moon trying something that I would like to do for life. My father didn't grow up going like, I want to fucking cancel stamps. Like, it was just a job he got. And I remember asking him one day, I was like, Dad, like what did you dream about when you were a kid? And he was like, what do you mean? He was all sus, right? Like he wasn't that generation where you could talk about his feelings and shit. I would be like, what did you dream about when you were my age? And he's like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, well, I mean, like, I know you didn't want to work at the post office. Like, what did you dream about? And he's like, what, before I gave up? And I was like, I didn't say that. I was just asking, what did you dream about? And he was like, I wanted to get married and have kids. And I was like, oh shit, so that happened for you at age like, what, 27? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, so the job, the post office? He's like, that's just a way to pay for that shit. My father wasn't one of those people that was like, this is fulfilling to me, or I've got something to say, or I want to build a thing. What he wanted to build was a family, and he did that. And so his job was just something to pay for it, and he hated his fucking job. But I watched him do that my entire life, and I was like, all right, that's one way to do it. Imagine if you left this world instead, like the way he did, where he's like, fuck, I worked at the post office for 30 years. You enjoyed everything you did. It was something you wanted to do. It was creative, it was fun, like it was in childhood. So I was like, maybe I should take a shot making pretend for a living. And so Clerks in 1992, we're here in Austin. There was a movie that came out called Slacker, directed by Richard Linklater. And, you know, in order to be something, you got to see it first, right? You can't be it unless you see it. Richard Linklater made this movie that wasn't really like any other movie I'd ever seen. It was about the place he lived, here. It was about Austin. No movie stars, no like 3-act structure, no fucking car chases, nothing exploded, certainly no superheroes or anything. But it was fascinating, and I'd never seen anything like it. And I always tell people I viewed it with a mixture of awe and arrogance. Awe because I was blown away. I was like, I've never seen anything like this. This is possible. And then arrogance because I was like, well, if this counts as a movie, I think I could fucking make a movie too. And that's not to say that I didn't love Slacker. I absolutely fucking loved it. But here was a guy who wasn't from like Los Angeles, wasn't from New York. He was from middle of nowhere, Texas, which is actually the capital of Texas, Austin. I didn't know that at the time. Little fucking ignorance will go a long fucking way. If I'd realized he lived in a media town, I probably would have tried Clerks myself. But I was like, well, this guy's in Texas, Bumblefuck, Texas, man. If he could do it in Bumblefuck, Texas, I could do it in Bumblefuck, New Jersey and shit. So he inspired me, and then I went out and tried to do my version of an independent film. I was like, I'm going to tell my story. I worked at convenience stores. I've never seen a convenience store movie. I'm going to set a movie in this space. And we didn't know how much shit costs. It's not like it is now where you had the internet and you could just look up any information you want. You didn't know. Like, filmmakers wouldn't tell you what a movie cost because they kept that close to the vest when they had to sell it. They didn't want something to tamper with that. So you had no useful information. You just had to kind of parse it out yourself and look at others who had done it. So seeing Richard Linklater make this movie in his small town made me go like, okay, I'm gonna live in a small town. Maybe I can make one of those flicks too. Not knowing that the odds were against me, but also didn't have grand plans. I wasn't like, I'm gonna take over the world. I just wanted to make that thing and see it. Like, that's it. For years, my father would take me to the movies, all the time. My love of cinema could be traced directly to him. But never once when I sat next to him did he ever say like, you could do this, because we didn't come from that world. Like where, nowadays I got a kid, she's 23. From the moment she was born, I was like, you could do anything you want in this life, except fly without a jetpack. Other than that, fucking the sky's the limit and shit. My father wasn't like that. My father was like, see that mountain? Never climb it. You'll fucking fall and shit like that. So he took me to the movies and never said, yeah, human beings do this. People that grew up just like you, probably came from fucking New Jersey and shit. This is a possibility. It was something we only interacted with as an audience. That was it. And so here I was at this stage in my life where I was like, well, what if I was the person that actually made that thing? And my father had an influence over that. Sitting next to him in a dark movie theater week after week, that's how I got to know my old man. Like, it's not like he was an open book and shit, and he was always wearing his heart on his sleeve. He was dad, very traditional dad. He was in charge, he worked and shit. You had to be quiet when he was sleeping, crap like that. So all of a sudden, I'd go to the movie theater with my father, and in the dark, I would see him, what made him laugh. More importantly, I'd see what made him cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not used to seeing your father cry unless a relative dies or something like that. Here he was crying at something moving in a motion picture. And that affected me. I got to know that guy more watching him watch movies than actually having conversations with him. That shit penetrated. And that shit went deep. So when it came time where I was like, maybe I want to try making a thing, that fed it. Like, not ability. I'm not good at what I do. You ask anyone on the internet, they'll fucking tell you, man. Like, fucking, he sucks. But I've been sucking for nearly 30 years, you know what I'm saying? So I got that going for me. But, you know, having a long tail means something. You know, people could diminish work from time to time and be like, that sucks, that sucks. But, you know, every day in my life I get up and I dream for a living. Go like, ooh, what would be cool to do? What would make me feel like young? What would make me feel like a kid? Like when I'd be like, all right, we're playing Star Wars. You're this, I'm Darth Vader. You run around, you say this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'd been directing since I was a kid. I just didn't know there was a name for that sort of thing. So I started my career with Clerks, and that was me being an outsider artist going like, I want to be inside. You know, why should I watch other people do it? They're people like me. Maybe I could fucking do this thing too. So I became a maker and an independent film artist. And, you know, sometimes I work with studios and shit, but I always kind of kept independence because I knew sooner or later they'll run out of use for me. Like, I ain't J.J. Abrams, where they're like, oh my God, we get a zillion fucking things out of this guy. They get one thing out of me, Clerks, over and over again, right? Like, fucking, I got Clerks 3 coming out in fucking October. So they know exactly what they could get from me and stuff, which should be encouraging for everyone in the audience. You know, a lot of people feel like, oh, that business, it's all about fucking sequels and remakes and it's bullshit. You know why? Because they're waiting for you. It's really that simple. It's that fucking simple. They're just waiting for the person who walks into their office and shows them the thing they've never seen before. I walk in their office, they're like, here comes fucking Jay and Silent Bob. One day, somebody here is gonna walk into their office and they're gonna be like, that shit's better than The Matrix. That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for like originality to come walking through the door. So at a certain point, if you're not producing for the industry and whatnot, I guess they could stop calling you. But I've kind of maintained a career where I do so many different things that even if the phone stops ringing over there, well, I got this to do. I podcast like crazy, live performances. We've had TV shows and stuff like that. So I've spun a lot of plates. One of the plates that I spun years back was David Shapiro, who's a producer on KillRoy.
And I want to get Guy in here in just a second.
You gonna, what's it?
We want to get Guy in here in just a second.
We should, right? I mean, he's here. He has a story to tell as well. David Shapiro, he was working with the Ringling College of Art and Design in Sarasota. And Justin Long, who was in Tusk with us, he went down there and he was like, oh, I went to this school and talked to the kids. It was great. I used to go to colleges and do Q&As all the time. So
we used to watch him on TV on HBO. That was awesome.
Sometimes I actually did a show here. It was weird. When I came here today, I was like, wait a second, I've been here before. In 2009, I did a show here at the Long Center. Just me standing on a stage fucking bullshitting and whatnot. So David, I went down to Sarasota, met the kids at the school, the Ringling College of Art and Design. He was like, Justin shot a short film with us. Why don't you come do that? And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. But then I was like, well, in a world where we're shooting a short film, why don't we just shoot a whole movie? Short film really doesn't teach a kid at film school how to make a movie. It teaches them how to make a short film. I was like, if we make a whole feature, and if the feature is made up of little short films, if it's an anthology, then we could show them not only how to make a movie, but then what happens afterwards, and like take it on the festival circuit and shit like that. And so we started making this anthology film called KillRoy Was Here. I was making it before I had a heart attack, then I had a major heart attack like 4 years ago and almost died. And then after the movie, we finished. After the heart attack, we finished the movie and stuff. So I had this flick, and I had this friend, David Shapiro. David Shapiro is a big fan of crypto and NFTs, big in the space, big believer in Web3. So he'd been always talking about it, and this is before the world found out about NFTs and stuff and formed an opinion. he was always talking about it. And it was interesting to me because what he described sounded to me like the feeling I had when I realized I missed YouTube. Like, I made Clerks and all those flicks, and while I was doing that, YouTube happened, and a whole generation of creators, of makers, who weren't waiting for permission, launched their ships. And I eventually found YouTube and started making shit there as well. But I always feel like, fuck, if I wasn't paying attention to movies, I would have been at the perfect place for me. And so when he started talking about NFTs and crypto, and particularly Web3, I was like, oh my God, like that sounds like a playground that I want to be in. It's one more place to go ply my trade, one more place to go be heard. This life is all about, for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I just want to self-express and be heard. I personally believe there's 3 things we need in life, and there's lots more, the list is very long, but 3 things I need in life: food, fucking, and to be heard. And I could hook up the food and the fucking and stuff with money if I have to, but to be heard, that's different, man. Like, it's very different to not only have a voice, but have it be heard, to be understood in this life or something like that. So I was a person that, like, when David started talking about Web3, I was like, well, I would like to go play there. Especially like when you think about it like this. It's an audience that's not as big as it will be in 5 years or 10 years. In 10 years, it's going to be like the internet is today, for heaven's sakes. And I was there for the infancy of the internet. I've been there for the infancy of a lot of shit. I was there for the infancy of independent film and watched it grow huge. I was there for the infancy of podcasting. I started podcasting in 2007. I've watched it become an industry and stuff like that. So I was there for the advent of the internet, and I'm a creature of the internet. Part of my career, a large part of it, has been spent there. So this world, to me, I felt like, oh, I know what's happening. I've lived long enough to know what happens next. This is the dominant culture. This is where everybody goes. And I knew this to be true after, like, David and I one day had a conversation about KillRoy, and I was like, hey man, has anyone ever taken a movie into the NFT space, a whole movie? I know it's basically, a representation of art. What if it was animated art, like movable art? That's what a movie is, right? 24 frames a second or some such shit. I was like, has anybody done that yet? And he's like, people have tried to finance movies off NFTs, but nobody's like released a movie as an NFT. I was like, can we do it with KillRoy? Now, if I had made KillRoy with Lionsgate, or, we just made Clerks 3 with them, and I turned around and said, oh, I want to release it as an NFT, they'd be like, you're out of your fucking mind. No. But I was with somebody who was visionary, who was just like, that would be cool. He's like, I don't know how it would do business-wise. He's going, you would be the first. So, first one through the door takes bullets maybe, or gets all the glory and shit. But he's like, more importantly, it just shows where it's going. He's like, what's great about it is it's revolutionary. He's like, it's one more thing to say that you could do in the space. So we started having a serious discussion about it, and then we announced to the world, we're going to auction off this movie and as an NFT. And that's when Guy comes in. Thank you. Yes. We'd get there. Guy was just like, I've got a better idea. And he introduced me to Scrt Network. I'm going to let Guy take over at this point. Tell him about Scrt and tell him about your better idea.
Yeah, tell us about Scrt Network and tell us why somebody would choose Scrt for NFTs and why creators would choose it.
I will, but just to be honest, I'm here to listen to Kevin. That's like, that's much more fun for me. But Scrt Network is a layer 1 blockchain, full smart contract capabilities like many other blockchains. It's part of the Cosmos ecosystem, part of the Cosmos family. But that's not what sets it apart. What sets Scrt apart is that all smart contracts, and for people who don't know what smart contracts are, they're essentially programs that run on the blockchain, and it's not run on someone's computer or on Amazon's computer. It's run by many thousands of computers and people across the world. And those smart contracts, those programs on any other blockchain, they have one big problem, and that's that everything on them is public. Now, I don't know what about you, but if the internet were to be built without any notion of privacy, so imagine all of your financial information, identity information, where you travel, where you go, what you do, your personal messages, if all of that were to be public for everyone to see, I don't think there would be an internet. And if Web3 is indeed Web3, the next version of the internet, then it's going to need the notion of privacy. And that's where Scrt comes in. In Scrt, all of the applications, all of these smart contracts, all of these things, they have the ability to actually keep all data that you want private. Even though that data is being manipulated and processed and being worked on, it's being done in encrypted form, which if you're a geek like me, that should excite you. But the point is that you can actually now process in Web3 on the blockchain sensitive information. Now, when it comes to NFTs, NFTs came after like Scrt, right? Like we've been working on Scrt for 10 years. It started as my grad research at MIT. My thesis is about it. NFTs are more of a recent invention. But one of the biggest problems in NFTs is that they are public. NFTs usually they have some kind of content, whether it's a movie, it's an art piece, you name it. But at the end of the day, any NFTs on any other place are completely public and everyone can just copy paste them, right? There's the common joke that you can right click save any NFT. And NFTs again, they're meant to be some kind of token of ownership. But if it's a token of ownership, then part of being an owner of something means that only I get to see it. I can share it with others if I want, but it's my power, it's my choice. And so that's kind of like what Scrt brings to NFTs that no one else does. And I got really excited about the KillRoy was here and the Kevin Smith project because to me this is like the first instance of what the future of content can look like, right? Like here using our technology, you can actually release a full movie as a series of NFTs and buying, renting, whatever you want to do, whatever way you want to do it, that NFT not only gives you ownership of that NFT and that NFT can give you IP rights to the characters, to a lot of things, it also actually gives you the movie inside of it that only you can see. And you can be the first one in the world to see it. So to me, that's really exciting, and that actually opens up, like Kevin was one of the first, maybe even the first one to kind of bring independent films in the 90s. Maybe this is the start of what, a decentralized Netflix or a decentralized YouTube or a decentralized platform where the lines between artists and between creators, artists, and consumers kind of blur, where they all come together and collaborate and co-own these things. So that's what I'm excited about, and that's hopefully what Scrt can help with.
Absolutely. And Kevin, tell us about KillRoy and what sort of utility is packed in these NFTs that was important to you.
The thing that when Guy reached out and he was talking about like, don't auction the movie, you're doing this wrong. He's like, I got a better idea. And the idea was to make 5,555 generative pieces of art. Each one has the movie in it as in the blockchain. So essentially the NFT operates as a key, correct?
Correct, yeah. The NFT is a key that only if you have the key you can get access to the movie.
So, for me, this is how I knew like I was onto something. When we announced like, oh, we're going to take this movie into the NFT space over a year ago, I heard from 3 people in the industry. One guy used to run Warner Brothers and 2 other high-level execs who reached out to me, who hadn't reached out to me in years. People used to reach out all the time and be like, hey, you're good, you're clever, and fucking we want to work with you. And at a certain point, after you're there for a while, they're like, who's behind you and shit. So I got a call from people I haven't heard from in a while going, this is fucking smart, and we're all watching this. And I know they're interested on the studio side because they're like, if fucking Kevin Smith can make this work, then we're bringing real movies in, and we're gonna do this way. So I felt like, we were onto something based on the fact that the money people gave a fuck. The people that care about this about like making a profit were suddenly calling me and interested, and not calling me to be in business with me, but wanting to pick my brain. Like, what do you know? What do you know about NFTs that we don't and shit like that? The nice thing that like I've suggested to Guy and he went for 100%, which I think makes the difference. When you get the KillRoy NFT, you get the movie, you get all the extras, you get to see what our idea of the flick was and whatnot. But you also get this generative piece of art, which is your own personal KillRoy. So we grant ownership of that character. That character then is yours to do with what you want. Stick it on a fucking lunchbox, sell it to somebody else, or what I'm encouraging people to do, and what we're going to pursue with Scrt as the sequel to KillRoy, because we want to have the first franchise on the blockchain. The idea is the audience, the consumers, the people that bought the NFT, they're going to go from consumers to collaborators, because a percentage of those cats are going to make a short. They're going to make an animated piece based on their character. They're going to make a short film based on what they see, because we provided the model. It's an anthology, so anybody could jump in and do a version of the story with the character. Then we're going to take like the best ones of those, and I'll do a framing device around it, and that becomes the sequel to KillRoy. So the audience that made up the people that made up the audience for the NFT in the first place become the people who collaborate with us and co-direct the second one. Again, if I was working at like a studio and I was like, oh, I want to make a movie with a bunch of fucking strangers and I want to give them the IP, they'd be like, you're out of your mind. You don't understand. Clearly you don't understand this business. In this world, we can do a thing where it's like, look, that's your KillRoy. Now you make a short. And here's the thing. It's like if you were a film kid who was like, how do I get fucking attention? Easiest way to get attention is like to make a KillRoy short and then put it next to my KillRoy short, and yours is better than mine. Then everyone's like, my God, he's better than the guy who's been doing it for 30 years. It's gonna get attention because we tend to shine a light on the stuff that we work on and stuff. So that was an idea that excited me. Like putting the movie out as an NFT when I had the conversation with David, that seemed revolutionary at the time. By the time we started working on it with Scrt, which was like 6 months, 8 months after we made that announcement at first, suddenly it evolved into something even better. Like think about it. Our original idea was like, we'll sell it to one person, they could do whatever they want with it and shit. They could distribute it, they could keep it, whatever the fuck. This allows it to be way more collaborative period. It wouldn't be collaborative. In the other version, it just would have been the same old, you buy a thing, it's yours, goodbye. Here, there's like, that's part one of the story. Now, doesn't mean everyone's gonna make a thing. Some people don't want it. Some people just wanna collect a thing and they're not makers and stuff. But there's a good percentage of people in this field particularly who are like makers and creators. You give them an opportunity and you're like, hey man, not only will you make this thing, but like you're gonna co-profit in this thing when we do it together because you've made a piece of it and stuff. That's exciting, that's new. And anytime I could add one more spoke to the wheel of a very long career that perhaps is long in the tooth, it's a good thing. Like when I started my career, I was revolutionary. But the longer you stick around, it's like the line in Dark Knight, right? It's like you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain and shit. I've gone through all those stages. I've been around so long that people were like, we love him, we fucking hate him. And now they're like, I'm indifferent. So if I could do things that make them go, oh shit, he's still viable. Like that's interesting. He's back in the conversation. If it makes me relevant, holy shit, that's worth all my time in the world. And that's all I've ever been doing professionally, is just trying to be heard, trying to be relevant. This is a great way to be relevant in a world that I want to spend a lot of time in this space. I'm not like, I know some people like who are in my line of work or people who are well known jumped into the crypto space, tried to get a bunch of fucking money, like a lot of rug pulls out there and shit like that. I'm here to tell you, I'm not just like walking the walk, we're talking the talk, I'm walking the walk. A big part of Clerks 3, a big part of the plot is predicated on NFTs and shit. Woo. Yeah, it's baked into like everything we're doing for the next few years. So I believe in the technology. It's not a fly-by-night thing. Look, don't get me wrong, I love selling shit. I've been selling souvenirs, Jane, Silent Bob dolls and shit like that, t-shirts for over 20 years at this point. So the idea of one more thing to sell excites me, but this goes beyond just selling a thing. This goes to like all the people that I interact with who buy my shit. I feel like I know every single Kevin Smith fan on the planet. It's because there's only about fucking 12, but I know them all and shit. And the idea that they're buying a thing and then the next time we're collaborating on the thing, like that's just a new conversation to have other than the same old conversation that I've been having for decades now. So I don't know. To me, I'm into the field. I know right now, people are experiencing a bit of a downturn and stuff like that. That doesn't put me off. That doesn't make me go like, I better run. Like that just makes me go like, okay, well, It's going to clear out the field, and I'll be able to stand out even easier. Like, I've been doing this long enough in other forms of media where you can watch the same stories play out over and over again. And so right now, what's happening in the space here in Web3 is that moment where a bunch of people who are fly-by-nights, who are never going to fucking stick around anyway, are jumping off. Because they're like, oh, it's not fucking free money. Shit, I got to work. Fuck this. And they're leaving. That's going to leave the workers behind and the creators and the people who are like, I know what to do with this, like me and Guy.
Totally. Yeah, give it up.
Hell yes.
You don't have, that wasn't, thank you.
Yeah.
I just ran out of shit to say. It wasn't like a now applaud. Felt like fucking Jeb Bush for a minute there.
I know we don't have a lot of time. I want to bring it back to Guy. What is the goal going forward with Scrt? What are the pain points you're noticing with artists and creators you're working with, and how are you solving those?
Yeah, so first of all, Scrt is not just about NFTs. I am very excited about the future of content, and I think Scrt would be instrumental in making that happen. Generally speaking, by the way, I've been in this space for almost a decade, so this downturn is actually, to me, an opportunity. I think anyone who stays now is a real builder. I have no doubt that crypto is going the same line of the internet, and essentially, we're going to see crazier and crazier cycles than even the ones we've seen. And for Scrt, what I want for Scrt is Web3 needs privacy. Scrt needs to be that pillar of privacy, so we don't repeat the same mistakes when we built Web 2, where you have, a few small organizations that collect all your data and keep it, and usually also leak it due to hacks and other things. And that seems to be like a very opaque, non-transparent, non-accountable system. So hopefully, in this new Web3 kind of open ownership paradigm, Scrt can play a larger role with its privacy technology. And specifically when it comes to NFTs, I think NFTs we're just scratching the surface. My opinion is that NFTs have three major potential kind of like verticals. One of them is the future of content. And I think we haven't seen anything. I think actually with KillRoy was here, we're starting to kind of move the needle, but it's like the first Wright brothers flight, if I may, right? It's like just the beginning, and we'll see where it goes. But then the second thing is NFTs is an amazing technology, right? Like, especially if you put privacy in there, then I think at the end of the day, it could replace our existing certification systems, supply chain systems, identity systems. And the third prong that I think NFTs are gonna take, NFTs are great for financial products. You can Uniswap are experimenting in that, but really you can really build a better financial system just with the use of NFTs. And I feel that with all the kind of like the maybe generative art pieces, all that, which are great, I love these. People have kind of lost sight of that technology and how impactful it can be, definitely in content, but not just in content.
I am going to ask you guys for final thoughts, and Kevin, I don't know if you want to invite your friend up here or not. I'll leave that to you. But I just want to remind the audience, later today, if you own a KillRoy NFT, there's a special screening at 7, I believe, as well as a private Q&A for all NFT holders with Kevin, as well as an after party at 9. We'll be there. But just final thoughts, gentlemen.
Actually, building on that, so there's a special gift, let's say, for all of you. So if you're interested in becoming part of this KillRoy movement, KillRoy anthology, being part of the future of content, usually getting into the whitelist is quite difficult, but anyone here is listening, just go into legendao.io, go into the Discord server, go into the KillRoy announcement channel, and you will see a place there where you can kind of put yourself in the whitelist. It's guaranteed. All you have to put there is the secret password, which is KillRoy's secret stash. So put that in the form. I'm going to the Discord. You'll see the instructions. Put that password, KillRoy's secret stash, in the form, and you're guaranteed the whitelist spot.
Awesome, Kevin.
As for me, I got to tell you, like. I've been part of a creative community for a long time now. I've been a part of a lot of communities, tribes, if you will, like places that I feel comfortable around similar-minded individuals, and it's generally always a creative, fantasy fucking field. It's not real, right? I respect carpenters, but I don't identify with carpenters. I identify with people like, did you watch fucking Flash last night and shit like that. So I've always gravitated toward welcoming communities of like-minded individuals. Film has been a big one for me. Podcasting has been another one. Comics as well, even hockey to some degree. The amount of fellowship that I've found in this space is overwhelming. People are so positive here. Like, people are happy. Outside of it, like, if I put something on Twitter about like, hey man, we're doing KillRoy as an NFT, I'll get all manner of fucking opinions and shit from a bunch of people who are like, I read half a thing once, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. Here within this community, there's like none of that. Like, people are welcoming, people are excited, people are seeing the future, people are creative, people are inspired, and there's not like a lot of competition. This is another thing that I find really endearing about the space is that you don't have people like trying to knock each other fucking off. It's because it's fueled by a lot of artists, and it's not really an art thing to knock somebody else down. You want to express yourself, but you don't want to stop anybody else from expressing themselves either. So I just wanted to say, like, I love being in this community, man. I'm a 51-year-old fucking man, and I probably shouldn't be in this space because this is a space of the future. But everyone who's made me feel so welcome in this space, like, keeps me around and makes me want to keep doing more. So we've got KillRoy, which is dropping July 1st. And then after that, of course, we'll be working on KillRoy sequel. There's Clerks 3 stuff that's wrapped up in the world of crypto as well. So I kind of look forward to hanging out with y'all for the next few years, man, and making stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin.
Give it up for these guys. Kevin Smith, Guy, Scrt Network.
I think, and there's somebody after us. Are you telling us to keep going or cut us off? Okay, that's what we thought. Anyway, you guys can see these guys later. 9 o'clock tonight, the party, screening at 7. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great show.
Yeah, pictures. Kevin.